Hey everyone, Albert Smart here, and this is my channel. Welcome. Welcome to the channel. My name's Albert Smart, and my job is to make you a better drawer and painter. Today we are doing a painting tutorial of a lovely fruit, and we will be going over some color things, and we'll be going over some technique things, and really, I just want to show you guys a little bit of my process to help you kind of decide whether or not the things that you're doing in your painting process are working for you. Everybody's got a little bit different way of going about doing things, so it's important to try different things because you never know where that's going to lead you. I know through my journey that sometimes it's the smallest little bit of advice that can really flip things over on their head. So stay tuned for the tutorial. It's on its way, and I can't wait to get into it, folks. Okay, so this is my palette. It is a limited palette. I prefer a limited palette. I find that I can have ultimate control over my colors when I have less of them on my palette. And if I'm going to be honest, my palette gets a bit crazy regardless of how many colors I put out. But with less of them, it is a little bit more sustainable. So this is me mixing some colors. I use Geneva paints. They're by the awesome Mark Carter. He's an oil painter and educator. He has an awesome YouTube channel called Draw Mix Paint. Please check it out. We're going through mixing some red tones, some orange tones, a little desaturated. But notice how I use the last color I mixed to be the starting point for my next color. I try to do that to make my transitions from tone to tone nice and smooth and gradual, and not to have too many big leaps in between them. It feels more natural when I do it that way. And color mixing could be a little intimidating and freak a little bit of people out because colors are a little hard to understand at when you first start using them. But I just want to tell you guys, don't be afraid of mixing your colors. Sometimes, and I know you don't want to waste your paint, and paint can be expensive, but sitting back and mixing colors just for the sake of mixing colors is so helpful. I really, really think that if you could take the time to do just that a few times, pick out some colors and try to mix them, do your best. And you're probably going to fail at times, but you need to make those mistakes in order to figure out the way to mix the color you're actually going for. And once you start doing that, and the more you're doing it, it starts to click, and you start to recognize that, adding a little bit of blue and burnt umber make everything a little bit darker because the blue and the burnt umber together create black. So when you're adding those together, it desaturates the color you're working with. And another way to desaturate, which could be an even better way, is to add the complementary colors. So if you're mixing a bright red and you want to bring it down to a more earthy tone, you would mix it with a little bit of green, and green would desaturate that red. So here is the first step of my canvas working here. This is a burnt sienna stain that I put together. It's very orange. It's a little more concentrated than I would usually do, but that's okay. I end up wiping some of this away with a paper towel. I stain the canvas a nice color. Or a lot of artists do it. It takes away that bright white surface and breaks things up a little bit and keeps the eye nice and level, and just gives you a nice surface to start working on that isn't so bright and overpowering. So the first step, the first step is to draw out what you are painting. You can use a pencil. I prefer to use a brush, and I'm just using that saturated um burnt sienna that I already had that I just stained the canvas with. I just use a little bit thicker of a wash, but not too thick because I don't want it to go on so thick that I can't make corrections. But I'm simply making measurements of where I want things to be. And I decided to paint a pear fruit levitating above a countertop. I don't know why it's levitating, but it just sounded like a whole lot of fun. And when I come up with things that I think sound fun, I just do them. And usually I'm right. So this is a pear I'm drawing. You can see the shape starting to form. Notice that my brush not only puts some of that darker tone down, but it's also wiping some of that tone away. And that's okay. I don't really care during this part of the process what this looks like, as long as it is giving me a base of where the things are situated on my canvas. I know where my pear is, I know where my countertop is, and when I start painting, I already have an idea of where I want my light source coming from and such. So I just need basic forms and shapes. So now I'm blocking out the background. I typically start with the background just to give me a sense of atmosphere. So when I get into painting my main subject matter, I could already see how the colors are working together. If I were to paint the pear first, I feel like my colors would be a lot different without that contrasting background to give me a reference to how I want my colors to be balanced. Do I want things to be darker? Do I want things to be lighter? Do I want there to be different hues in my shadows? Like, you don't have to do, shadows are not always just black. You could do shadows in any color. That's the beautiful thing about painting and learning, mixing those colors on that palette. You start to learn that anything could be a shadow and anything could be a highlight, and all these things are just light. And when I say these things are just light, I want you to understand that light is the same as colors. Each color that you're putting on the canvas is a form of the way light reacts when it hits the objects, or if it falls into if it's creating a shadow, if it's directly hitting that pear right on the top. You're gonna have different tones to your colors, and it's all light. No, you wouldn't be able to see any of it without it. So when I'm painting this pear here, I want you to recognize that I'm just placing colors where I want them. I don't really over I don't like to over blend things too much. Sometimes blending's nice, and you could get some really good effects by doing some blending. Uh, and some things you do want to be nice and soft and smooth, and that does require some blending. But for this pear, because it is very textured and has a lot of life to it, I don't over blend some things. And what you're doing, what your job is while you're painting, your job is to see the color on your reference and place that color on your painting where you see it. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're never looking for perfection. We're looking for a likeness of what we're trying to achieve. I am working off a picture of a pear that I found on the internet, and the pear doesn't have some of the colors I put in this painting are not exactly in the reference I found, but I've just been painting a long time. I like to add some subtle color shifts. It makes things interesting and fun. And, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But when they work, I can remember it and I could use it again and put it in my little toolbox of awesome painting tricks. So I'm currently putting in my darkest tone first in this pair because I I find that blending my lights into my darks is always a little easier to control than blending my darks into my lights. Some people might disagree. Some people might do it different, and that's okay. Uh, Everybody works differently, and that's really an amazing thing to learn. And I want you as an artist, if you're a beginner artist, to recognize that there is no all-seeing God of art that is going to smite you if you do something that isn't the same as someone else is doing it. The beauty of creativity is that there's infinite ways to go about doing all these things. And your way is going to be just as good as the next person's way as long as it works for you. As I'm painting this pair, I am making sure that my brushwork, I prefer a nice loose style. I don't like to overwork areas, and then towards the end of the painting you'll see that I like to come and refine some things to really pop them out. But I try to make my brushstrokes as crazy as possible, and by crazy I mean I don't want to fall into any patterns. Sometimes patterns are good, but a lot of the times, like, if you get into patterns, it could really make your tattoos, so wrong medium. It really makes your painting look amateur and a little superficial and such. So it's nice to try to get nice loose kind of crazy brushwork in there. It's important to take a few steps back sometimes to look at your painting, because a few steps away from your painting could really change your whole perspective on what you're looking at. I moved on to the background a little bit here. I do that sometimes. I jump around a lot when I paint. It's just my brain. Sometimes I'm getting a little bored, or sometimes I'm working on something and I'm like, you know what? I really want to see what this is going to look like, and then I can't take it and I can't handle it and I got to move on, and then I do it, and then I'll revisit that beautiful pair. But right now, I'm taking a little bit of the brownish orangey color that I've kind of mixed, and I'm mixing it with a little bit of the soft blues that I mixed on my palette, and I'm getting a desaturated kind of purpley orangey tanny kind of a look here as all these colors start to mix together. And my goal here is just to really break up that background a little bit, give it a little bit of texture and a little bit of life. Because just keeping it blended the way it was, there's just not a lot to that. It's not very interesting to look at. So we're just giving it a little pizzazz. Also, my light source I have coming from the right hand side. I know there's a little bit of glare in the video here, and I apologize for that. I will get better at this as we go. But my darker tones are coming up on the left, and then the right side will hold more of my lighter tones. And once again, I do some different hue shifts. There's a little bit of some more blues and some smoky blues in there, and there's even a little hints of purple. Um, just trying to keep it fun and interesting. There are no rules. You obviously want to kind of make educated choices based off of what you know works, or what you maybe see in your reference that you think really looks nice. Like, that's good too. Oh, I like this in my reference. How can I almost duplicate it? And you don't, like I said, you don't have to make it perfect, but this pear that I painted is not the exact shape of the pear that I was looking at. I pushed it around and tweaked it a little bit, but it's still a pear. You look at it and it's definitely a pear. So try to recognize when you're creating that that perfection or that image that you're thinking in your head, like it has to look like this, is merely a suggestion of what your of what you think your outcome should be, but it doesn't have to be. Whatever comes out in the ending product is what was meant to come out, and it's going to be beautiful no matter what stage you're in. Learning to paint and the process of learning to paint is infinitely beautiful. It's so fun, it's so rewarding every time, even if it doesn't go well. And it's important to keep that attitude up while you continue through your painting journey, because you really want to push yourself to try harder things and challenge yourself to do techniques and maybe paint things that you're like, man, that really looks difficult to paint. I'm going to try. And you might suck, but I guarantee you do it a couple times and it's going to get better and better. And that's just part of the creative process. Really, it's part of the everything process. You don't get better at anything in this world without having the guts to suck at it first. So do your best. Don't overthink it. The fact that you have the brush in your hand and you're doing it and trying is everything. You know, it takes guts and you're it's such a big leap. Just get out there and try your best. So now I'm starting to add some detail to this pear. I started bringing in some yellows, and these are lighter yellows, and as you put them on, the funny thing with oil paints, well, it's not funny, it's just the way they work. But oil paints are fun because you put that original color that's on your brush. Now the color's different. So I just put that color in there, but now the color on my brush is different. It's been tainted by the colors that are already there. So if you want to put down a color and you don't want it to change, you need to place that color where you want it, and then you need to clean your brush, pick up a little more paint, and then place the next color. Unless you're looking for a more blended look, or even some colors that are fading into each other, then you don't necessarily have to clean your brush. But especially when I'm doing highlights and more fine tuning of the painting, you'll notice that I'll put down some color and then I'll pull my hand away, and usually I'm cleaning my brush so that the next color I put down doesn't change or taint the colors around it. But these highlights I just threw in need to be softened. So I'm going to use that white. I subtly start pulling the white away from that center where it's brightest, and it automatically starts blending into those yellows that are already around it. A lot of painting this pear is pulling colors into other colors to get some texture and some variation. Painting is always going to be a trial and error process. Do your best. Go out, find some good references, and just do your best to put on the canvas what you see with your eye. It's going to take time, but I know you can do it. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this, and I hope it's helped you. Please comment below with any questions. Here is the finished painting, and I hope you enjoy it. That was a really good time. I really enjoyed all of that. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I'm happy to answer any that I can. It's really an amazing thing to sit in a silent room with your paintings and your canvas and really just get that creativity going and get those emotions out of you. It's unbelievably healing. I know that firsthand. Painting is extremely therapeutic for me. A lot of people use it that way, but honestly, I don't think I could imagine a life without painting or being creative on a daily basis. But anyways, that's it for today. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope this helped you out, and I can't wait to see you again in the next video. Have a great day. I'm Albert Smart, and I'm signing off. Sayonara. I'm just testing stuff out. Have a good one.